Hey guys, my name's Steve, it's the Heroine's Corner and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to talk about my top 5 favorite books of the year so far. So it's pretty self-explanatory guys. I'm going to be talking about 5 books that I've read, loved, enjoyed, want you guys to read, love and enjoy. I would manage to get it down to 5 books. I probably could have added an extra 5 books onto here, but I might keep it short, keep it sweet. All the books I'm going to be talking about are adult fiction bar 1. There's 1 non-fiction in here, and 4 out of the 5 books are actually written by Black British authors. But all of the books here are written by Black authors, and I just love that. I started this channel wanting to talk more about Black British literature on this platform, and I feel like I've really done that, and I really love how this has reflected into my favorites. So yeah, I just can't wait to talk about these books even more, because you probably have heard of some of these books a lot. But without further ado, let's get into this. So at number 5, I'm going to be talking about Liberty by Caitlin Greenidge, and I don't think I've actually talked about this book a lot on my channel. I did a written review for it for Bad Form, which is a literary online magazine. I'll link that down below if you guys want to kind of explore more of my thoughts about this book. But essentially this is a historical fiction novel set in the Reconstruction era of American history, and we follow Liberty, who is wanting freedom from her mother, freedom from like the social constraints, freedom from the expectations that she set herself, freedom from her marriage. She's really just trying to find herself and trying to find her identity in such a tumultuous time in American history, and it's just done so perfectly. It's just done so beautifully. It's written so well. The main theme of this book has to be Black girlhood and Black womanhood, and we have a lovely mother-daughter relationship. I don't mean the relationship is lovely, but how it's written is really well done. I loved how Caitlin Greenidge explored that relationship, and you guys know I love my mother and daughter relationships in my fiction. Liberty is such a great character to see grow and develop. This is really a Bildungsman romance. Did I even say that correctly? This is this is essentially like a coming of age story, and so we're dealing with the normal kind of conventions of current coming of age stories, from like romance, from finding yourself, but it's just done in such a compelling way. This really is a page turner of a book. And yeah, we have some magical realism aspects of this book that I wasn't expecting as well. Just overall, this book was a very sharp, intelligent, and engaging read. And if you guys have not read Liberty, you guys should. I'm going to be talking about this historical fiction from Kingdom Come. Wait, is that even the saying? I'm going to be talking about this for years to come. So the next book I want to talk about in this video is Assembly by Natasha Brown, and this was such a great read. I both loved and devoured it because this book is very small. But essentially we follow a Black British woman who has found herself in a space she always aspired to see herself. She has a very comfortable job, very comfortable life, she has a boyfriend, and she's slowly realizing that the spaces that she is now occupying, they are not for her. They're not in her best interest, and being in those spaces is actually becoming very detrimental to her sense of self. And this book was just amazing, brilliant. I actually tweeted this saying that it felt like previous thoughts that I've had in my mind were just on the page. The inner conflicts that I've had personally when it comes to this idea of social mobility were just laid out on the page better, and I just absolutely enjoyed reading this woman's like thoughts and her opinions, and just really delving into her psyche essentially. And yeah, I would say the biggest aspect of this book is social mobility, and really evaluating what social mobility means in actual terms. Like, if you're going to be in these mainly white spaces, what does that mean? What does that look like? This was just such an interesting read, and I would love to see this topic explored more in adult fiction. The discussions that were being had about what being like rich means and what being wealthy means, because our main character is rich. She has her money, you know what I mean? She works in finance, she works in a bank, but there's a difference between rich and being wealthy and having generational wealth. And I loved how that discussion was played out in this book. How you know what I mean, and all these things were on top of the brilliant writing, the brilliant way that Natasha Brown organized this narrative. And it did take me a while to find my footing with this book because it's a bit all over the place, you know what I mean? It's not very chronological, it doesn't go in a set order. But in the end, I really did appreciate how she chose to tell the story, and it kind of added to the layers of the story and what she was trying to get at, I believe. Like, it was just very disjointed, and I really enjoyed that in the end. This hunger to do well in life, but also having to recognize that means some detriment to yourself. And do you know what I mean? Like, if you're a second generation immigrant, like, and you're dealing with these types of things, I would really implore you to read this book, because like it was so raw, it was so like transparent. Now we're getting to the top three. This top three, very interchangeable. It depends on how I'm feeling, but I've kind of decided this is the order I'm gonna go in. If you guys have been watching my channel since the beginning of this year, you probably already know what book I'm going to be talking about when I say non-fiction. But if you don't know, I'm going to be talking about Black and British: A Forgotten History by David Alasoga. Please mind the golden foil that has been peeling off for some strange reason. I need to get another copy of this book. But yeah, this book is a historical non-fiction, and it's just talking about Black British history, and it's talking about the Black British history that we are not taught about in schools, which means we are going much further than the Windrush generation. There is more to Black British history than the Windrush generation. I really just appreciate how much this book taught me, and I appreciated the journey of just learning and really just engrossing myself in this history that I didn't know. And David Elasoga does so well with making things not overly complex. Like, a lot of the things that he's talking about, is complex and a bit I don't want to say undefined, but you know what I mean, there's not like one straight cut answer to some of the things he's talking about. But I appreciated how he just presented the story of Black British people. His thesis for this book is essentially that British history is Black history. And when I got to the end of this book, I was like, yep, that is certainly true. And it kind of made me more surprised with how much of British history is erased when we are also erasing Black history. You know what I mean? Kind of does a disservice to British history, I guess, if you're not also including Black history in that. And now here comes the top two books. Oh gosh. It was hard to like say which one's going to be number one. But I think I decided, like, I'm still even deciding now which one I should say first. Like, this is so arbitrary, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to talk about The Confessions of Franny Lantern second. This is my second favorite book I've read in 2021. I think it came out in 2020, and this is a historical fiction novel following Franny Lantern, who gets accused of murder. And in this book, we essentially follow her life from being on a plantation in Jamaica in the Caribbean, all the way up until her being accused of murder in London. And her story is just so compelling, so interesting, intriguing. I didn't want to put down this book. It's such a page turner. If you like historical fiction, you need to be picking up this book and reading it, because it just deals with, like, the whole setting is very immersive. It's a very immersive book. And also just Franny, she isn't a angel, she isn't a saint, she's a very flawed character as well. But I loved her voice. Her voice was very strong and very confident. Even when she's unsure, I just felt like she had a very strong presence in the book. She's very active in the story that she wants to tell. This book also touches on a lot of different, the darker aspects, I would say, of just like slavery, I guess, and we're talking about eugenics, and we'll go into that territory a bit, and just medical racism essentially. But I feel like it's done very tactfully. I feel like this book could have easily been very traumatic, but for some reason it isn't. The book keeps very, I don't want to say light because it isn't a light book, but I'm saying the pace keeps moving, the plot's always moving, something's always there to just keep it moving. And while we are understanding that these darker things are happening, again, Franny is just such an active protagonist. We're just always moving forward with the revelations, with the knowledge, with the story. We're just always heading towards a certain point. And the mystery, you know what I mean? Because again, she's been accused of murder, so there's also like a mystery element, crime element going on in this book as well. Just a phenomenal debut, because I'm pretty sure this was a debut novel. Sarah Collins just does the three things very well. Okay, you have compelling characters, immersive setting, and engaging plot. What more do you want in a historical fiction novel? Just, I need to read whatever else Sarah Collins is going to be putting out in the years to come, because auto by author. Auto by author. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if you've already guessed what book I'm going to be talking about for my number one spot, but if you've been paying attention to my channel, you probably already know. If you haven't, no worries, I'm going to talk about it anyway. I'm talking about Lot by Charlotte von Reinhold. I did a whole video about why you should read this book. That's how much I love this book. If you're interested in dark academia, read this book. Secret societies, read this book. Historical fiction, read this book. Dazzling, sparkling social commentary, read this book. It's just a stunning read, and I had such a love-hate relationship while reading this book, because I was almost hating this book while I was reading it, because the writing style is so different to what I like in a book. I really enjoy straightforward, direct narratives, and this book was just so embellished, so almost self-indulgent in itself. I just absolutely hated it at the time, but when it came to the end, I really appreciated it, and I actually really loved the way the story was being told. So if you don't know what this book is about, we follow the protagonist of Matilda, who is really interested in certain historical figures in artsy, circles, let's say, and she finds a black historical figure, and she wants to find out more about this woman. So this book, we just follow her journey to try and find out more about this woman who, is black, but she's in these very rich and intriguing circles. There's a mystery around her and how she ended up in these certain places in the 1920s. So that's the story, okay? But this book is just amazing, guys. Like, again, just watch my video about why you should read this book, because I don't know how much more I can articulate my feelings. I wouldn't say this book is magical realism, but there's a magical kind of quality to the journey I'm on. I felt like it was almost magical realism. Like, this book could have easily been defined as magical realism at points, and I just really enjoyed this journey we were on, and where we were going, and you know what I mean, again, just mystery elements, the secrets. You don't know what's going on half the time. I don't know, I was just having a blast. Like, I wasn't having a blast, but I was having a blast at the same time. Like, I don't know, just towards the end of the book, I really appreciated what this author was trying to do, and it takes a lot for an author to switch my mind. This book was just highly amazing, and I'm so sad that it isn't as available as like other books, because I know there's been people who've said like they wanted to pick up this book, but it's hard to kind of like find it because it's from a small publisher. But if you can somehow get your hands on this book, please do read it. I need more people to shout and scream about Lot by Charlotte von Reinhold, because like it felt so dreamy. It felt so dream-esque. Like, I was just like, what is going on? It felt like I was reading and there was glitter in my eyes. Like, the narrative just felt glittery and embellished, and I don't know. I love this book so much. So these are the books that I absolutely adored this year. I'm so glad that 4 out of the 5 of them are Black British. I love my historical fiction being represented, my nonfiction being represented, you know. I just absolutely adored each and every one of these books, and I can't wait to read more. We'll see if these books are on the best books of 2021 list. We'll see like how the rankings fall, because it'll be very hard to beat Love, because it wasn't just reading a book, it was just a whole experience. Like the whole experience for me was just so unique while reading this book. It'll be very hard to top it, I believe, but we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, guys. Please let me know down below what your favorite book of 2021 has been so far. And if you've read any of these books, if you want to read any of these books, please let me know. Please remember to follow me on Twitter and Bookstagram. Remember to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon in another video soon. Bye.